After 50 laps of leading comfortably, Max Verstappen faced a challenge from Lando Norris at Imola. The Briton closed in within DRS range but ultimately ran out of time. Verstappen held on to win by just 0.725 seconds ahead of the McLaren driver, with Charles Leclerc rounding out the podium. Sunday's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix ended with yet another Max Verstappen victory, but the race offered hope that Formula One's recent storyline might soon change. Plenty to unpack here, so don't go anywhere. Verstappen held on to his pole position advantage over Norris at the start and steadily pulled away in the opening stint, making victory seem like a sure thing. But Norris and McLaren increased their pace after switching from hard to medium tyres, closing the gap to Verstappen's Red Bull and intensifying the pressure in the final laps. Despite Norris's strong efforts, the Miami Grand Prix winner couldn't quite pull off the double, finishing just behind Verstappen at the line. When asked about his reaction after getting out of the car, Norris said, "It hurts me to say but 1 or 2 more laps and I think I would have had him. It's tough, a shame. I fought hard right until the very last lap, but I just lost out a little bit too much to Max in the beginning. He was much better in the first stint, and obviously in the second stint we were stronger. It was a tough first half and a much better second half. 1 or 2 more laps would have been beautiful, but just not today." Norris was then questioned about his thoughts on continuing to challenge Verstappen at Imola, considering his first win occurred at the vastly different Miami International Autodrome. "All weekend, yes," he said. "I think we are at a point now where we can happily say we are in a position with Ferrari and Red Bull. It's what we have to get used to, but the team are doing a good job. I think we're all doing a very good job, so it's business as usual. It's focusing on doing the same things, it's just we're fighting for first or second now. It's still a surprise to say it's frustrating not to win, but after last weekend and the improvements we made, it's what we should start to expect." Lando Norris's late surge put more pressure on Verstappen than the reigning champion has felt in quite a while. During a rare imperfect weekend for Red Bull, Norris steadily closed the gap as the laps ticked down, pushing hard and hinting at a genuine battle for the win. It's an unusual sight to see Verstappen appear vulnerable while leading a race. Already warned for exceeding track limits earlier, he couldn't take the same risks that Norris could in the closing stages. In those final laps, it was evident how much more Norris could push and lean on his car through the corners, while Verstappen struggled for grip. If you ask Lando Norris, he only needed another lap or 2 to make a move for the win. Considering how tough overtaking is at Imola, there's no certainty he could have pulled it off. Still, it would have given us the first real battle between 2 drivers who, so far, have shown a camaraderie that few others on the F1 grid share. Verstappen hasn't had to fight much in F1 over the past couple of years, thanks to his dominant Red Bull. His change in approach was clear early last year, as he tempered the aggression he showed during his intense 2021 title battle against Lewis Hamilton. With his car's pace advantage, he could afford to be patient, waiting for the right moment to make a move and then pulling away. That safety net has vanished over the last 2 races. McLaren's Miami upgrade proved its worth with a strong performance at Imola, which could have been even better if not for Oscar Piastri's grid penalty knocking him off the front row. It wasn't a perfect weekend for Red Bull, and they are still the team to beat overall, but their margin for error has definitely decreased in recent weeks. Christian Horner and Toto Wolff surprisingly agreed on something for once, praising Lando Norris and McLaren's remarkable progress over the past year and acknowledging Norris as a potential title contender. Now, Red Bull team principal views McLaren as their primary challengers for the title, following the remarkable turnaround in fortunes. "Arguably, over the last couple of races, they have been the main competitor," he said. "They have definitely added performance to their car. They have made a step, so we expect them to be competitive at all circuits." And when asked if McLaren has a shot at glory, this is what Horner said. "You can't take anything for granted, we certainly don't. The margins are very fine. In year 3 of these rules, there is always going to be convergence. We are seeing exactly that. The look of the cars is converging, the performance is converging. We will see more races like Sundays with very fine margins." Toto Wolff echoed Horner's sentiments, marking an unusual turn of events as the two are typically involved in verbal sparring. "It's a fantastic recovery story when you look at where McLaren were 12 months ago," he said. "We have to have respect how they have done things, and more competition at the front is good for the sport. I'm not looking at that with envy, quite the contrary. I'm looking at that and saying this is what we need to achieve because they've been able to do that. It's just good engineering. McLaren CEO Zak Brown was happy to see Lando Norris chasing Max Verstappen in the final laps of the Imola Grand Prix. The McLaren CEO feels a sense of opportunity and anticipates more race victories for McLaren throughout the remainder of the 2024 Formula One season, especially against Red Bull Racing. In 2023, Red Bull and Verstappen had one of the most dominant seasons in Formula One history. But this year, McLaren is confident they can build on their Miami win. Zak Brown said this to Sky Sports. "Since the second half of last year, we've been good. We have two great racing drivers. Andrea Stella and his team are doing an awesome job. The car keep getting faster and faster. Today was maybe the first time we made Max Verstappen sweat a little bit. He was definitely pushing. He was at his track limit. He was giving all he had. I think we have the chance of winning a few more races this year." Despite McLaren's strong showing, Zak Brown believes his team still lags behind Red Bull and Ferrari in terms of pace. Speaking after the race, Brown was quoted as saying, "I think Red Bull have a great advantage and they are still the team to beat. First, we have to catch Ferrari and make sure Mercedes don't catch us. If we keep doing what we're doing, I don't see why Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris can't win more races this year." McLaren believes that executing Formula One weekends effectively will be the decisive factor in their battle against Red Bull in the 2024 season. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella argued that the pace gap between the two cars was small and primarily centred on Red Bull's ability to maintain track position. He highlighted the narrow 1/10 spread that covered the top three drivers over one lap as proof that incremental factors will determine the race order. The execution of the weekend is always a key factor, but when margins are so close, yesterday I think the first three cars in qualifying were within 0.1s. So clearly operations and the way you treat the tyres and execute the race will become the dominant factor, Stella explained. "I think between a McLaren and a Red Bull today there wasn't much to pick and it was other factors that made the difference. The other thing I can say today is that being in the dirty air was a big factor, so every time you had backmarkers you were losing pace. The next opportunity to win will come in just a few days' time during the Monaco Grand Prix weekend from May 24th to 26th. Zak Brown is filled with hope about McLaren's potential to continue achieving positive results moving forward. "We've just got to keep doing what we're doing, but we know in Formula One nothing ever sits still," he said. "I think we've just got to keep doing everything that the men and women at McLaren are doing. If we keep pushing hard and we keep out-developing the competition, maybe we'll finish 7/10 ahead next time." So, are we seeing yet another changing of the guard in Formula One, or is this nothing more than a lucky streak from Lando Norris and McLaren? Tell us what you think in the comments section down below, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thanks for watching.